Okay, so here's a little demo about how to create more depth in your composition for plastic shapes in a plastic space. I'm going to switch over to a overhead webcam so I can show you my workspace here and what I've been playing with a little bit. I ran out and got another magazine this morning because it was fun. And so I've been, for the past hour or so, trying to do what I'm asking you guys to do. So I just got the new issue of Harper's Bazaar because, once again, it seems like it's the best fashion magazine that's available. And of course, also, I bought the last one off the newsstand at Safeway over in North Bend. So these may not be widely available, but you know, the kinds of things that they've got in them are really, nice examples of the fashion industry, including all of the different areas of applied design that go into that, including, fashion design, photography, art, art direction, and layout, and all of that kind of stuff. So on this first opening page inside the magazine, we've got these wonderful models. They're on this rocky beach with a vast landscape in the background that goes out to, ooh, what's this? A horizon line out here where the sky meets the ground. This is some fantastic stuff here. So I wanted to kind of show you guys in images like this, the idea of vast space and how to recognize it and how to manage it so that you're doing it in a really consistent way. So in this particular 2-page spread, the art director and the people putting this together did a really interesting thing. They stuck these artificial pillars or columns in the middle of the composition. I do not think they were in the original photograph, which was just these guys taken out on the beach, but then these were added in post-production here. And so that gives us a sense that we've got these things in the extreme foreground. They're closer to us than the fashion models who are on the beach that are somewhat in the foreground, middle ground area of the beach. We're not really establishing too much of a middle ground except with the surf line here of the where the beach is. And this thing just plunges into deep space here, which is really cool. So lots of really cool stuff in this magazine, lots of new, big, huge imagery that you can deal with. I did want to comment on a couple other of these advertisements while I've got this thing open. So in this kind of several page spread for Fendi, which is a fashion designer, and looks like they've got their fall wardrobe out here. So they're doing lots of earth tone colors and lots of warmer clothes for like fall and winter. But we are photographing models. Where do you think that the horizon line is? Where do you think that the photographer, his face or her face and camera are in this composition? Can you locate the location of your eye level in this composition, kind of based on the architecture, based on a little bit of what you see of the models? I was just wondering if you guys know where you are in a photograph like this in a composition. Where is your eye level? Anybody in the room? Yes, sir. Your eye level is high. Your eye level is up here, huh? Well, I have news for you. Your eye level is right about here. The photographer is sitting way down low on the ground or even laying down on the ground. And so the camera and his or her eye level is down here, and he's shooting up at these fashion models. And you can tell by the way that the all of these archways are kind of shown in the background. We're looking up, into all of these archways. We can barely see the top of the first step here, and otherwise we can't see the tops of these steps, of these 4 or 5 steps going up. And so, your eye level is right about here. Everything below this pencil, you're looking down at. You're looking down at the tops of their shoes. Everything above the pencil line, you're looking up at. This is a fashion and photography trick that makes the models look better. It makes them look taller. It makes them look more elegant. It makes their legs look longer and their torsos look shorter and smaller because of the kinds of distortions that happen when your eye level is way down here as a fashion photographer. So that's kind of interesting. When we're doing portraiture over here, then your eye level and the camera level and stuff is up higher in the composition so that you're shooting kind of straight into the portrait. But when you're doing full length fashion, oftentimes you're shooting from a position very, very low in the composition. Have any of you ever seen movies and stuff like that where the fashion photographer is squatting way down on the ground and kind of shooting up at the models, or the models are up on a stage or something like that and they're shooting? Nobody. Okay. Same thing in this composition here. You know, the eye level of the fashion photographer. Well, let's find the horizon line here. Is sort of somewhere in here. So again, the fashion photographer and camera is shooting from about this level. So everything above the pencil is shot up at, and we can see the ceiling and all of those kind of details here. And then from here down, we can kind of see that we're looking down at the bottom of this pillar, and we're looking down kind of onto the tops of the boots and stuff like that. Eye level makes a really important distinction and difference about where you are in the composition, and then how we're going to organize the compositional space. So I have taken one of those Louis Vuitton advertisements from the magazine that was shot out on that beach. And so I've got this pillar that has been stuck in there in post-production. I've got one fashion model, and I've got this vast space already created for me. Now, this is kind of cheating. You guys, if you wanted to, could sample out a piece of landscape, and put that over on one side of your composition, and you could have a fashion model from a different ad or something that was either large or super large, over on one side, to give us an extreme kind of close-up and foreground happening. And then this would give you maybe a little bit of background if you wanted to do a landscape thing that was taking your space all the way out to the horizon line. But I've got that built in here already, which is kind of cool. So I started to sample a whole bunch of different stuff to kind of play with and see what I could do here. And what I wanted to do is try to find, since we're dealing with the horizon line, I wanted to find stuff that was going to wind up somehow moving back towards the horizon line at about the same eye level that I'm working with this fashion model right here. Again, the horizon is here, so this is about where the camera was placed in the composition. This is the eye level of the photographer, is on the horizon line. I took a knife and made a little slit kind of following the contours of this skirt and this leg over here, so that I could play. I wanted to try to fit stuff, kind of slide it in here and fit it in here behind, so that these fashion models that are kind of in the middle ground back here are viewed from about the same angle. So, if we're looking at this fashion model in the foreground, from about knee level or mid-thigh level is our eye level. Then I wanted to have the eye level for these people to be similar. So cutting about mid-thigh or so would do that. And then I found this thing, which was really cool. It was like a stage show, a stage kind of thing, with this architectural element as part of the scenery, the props in the stage. And I've got little people in there, and they are smaller than these guys. So I was even thinking about trying to put them in here. And again, trying to find where that eye level and where the horizon line is in this composition here, so that we have this graduation from large to medium to small, and it all makes sense because we've kind of identified where the eye level, where the horizon line is in all of these different compositions, and we're keeping it consistent. So I get this consistent diminishing size in the compositional space. Then over on this side, I've got this thing in the foreground, which is, it's there, it's okay, but I want to play some more. So one of the things that we talked about was that bright colors and sharply defined details will pop forward into the foreground or into the extreme foreground. So I found this this jewelry advertisement that had this gold bracelet on a red background, and this really pops forward into the foreground. So I thought I would throw that in there overlapping her, which pushes her back now into the middle ground a little bit, which is kind of fun. Found another fashion model who was doing a thing, kind of peeking around a corner here. So I sampled that out where she's just kind of peeking around the corner. And again, I wanted to make use of this architectural element in here or something and bring this in tight. And I could come in a lot tighter too, but I want to make sure that she is overlapping so that she's bigger, she's closer, and but this is going to be the thing that's the closest. So this is in the extreme foreground, then we get to her, then as we move back into the composition, we get to her, we get to them, and finally we get to them, on the, in the extreme background on the horizon. And I was also playing with this architectural element right here. And so I thought I would sample something out just to play a little bit. So there was another ad that had this graphic in it. And, it was kind of cool because since she's peeking around this thing and kind of looking into the viewer, it would be fun to play with this little detail right here, because then it's interesting, it's engaging the viewers, it starts to ask questions and create kind of a mystery about what is this all about. And so you can kind of see that with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different kinds of images sampled from 6 different magazine ads, I'm getting to a kind of a composition that I'm looking for in terms of trying to create compositional space where I have an extreme foreground, moving into a middle ground, moving towards a background, with the idea of some space that is also participating in that sense of extreme space. This is an outdoor space, and I wanted to try to keep moving these things around until I was kind of happy with exactly where everything was in terms of its placement before I wanted to glue them down onto a composition. But I wanted to do this as kind of a way for you guys to think about this, keeping all of your pieces unglued and loose and separate so that you can place them, you can move them around and make sure that you're lining up whatever is your line of sight, your eye level, your horizon line, on a consistent horizon line, so that they will create a consistent feeling of extreme space, or whatever. We're trying to create either an interior or external space. And so if you're going to populate an internal space with furniture and stuff on the walls and stuff like that, that would be fantastic too. But trying to create that consistency of space is the big deal. Are there any questions in the classroom before I kind of turn off all of this technology and turn on all the lights again? Because today is going to be a work day, and we wanted to still try to get this nailed down so that we can critique it. And I'd love to critique it on Friday. So today could be another work day, but it took me a while to cut all this stuff out and start to play with it. And I have some foreknowledge of all of this, and you guys are building knowledge about this stuff. So it probably, might take you a little bit longer, but I want you to try to be careful, using the proper amount of care and whatever, with this, so that you get some successful results with that. Now, having said that, I'm going to say goodbye for now. Goodbye, YouTube, so that the YouTubers can see this later on.